Hello boys and girls, welcome back to John's Workshop, and in this video we're going to do Workshop Blether number 15. So Workshop Blether, mainly two reasons driving this. One, I've had some viewer mail that's been in the shop for quite some time, so I need to do a bit of a call out on that, and also I've got some exciting stuff that's turned up and I really want to go through some of that. And also, I guess the third reason is, by the time you watch this, we'll have just been away on a week's holiday, and Workshop Blethers are far easier to film, quicker to edit than a machining video. For example, the Rough Cut 22 video that I put out last week, you can imagine there was some significant amount of work filming, editing to pull all of that together. So, a bit of an easy one for me this week, and also an opportunity to catch up with some of the exciting things that are going to be happening. So we're going to go through one or two things. So a bit of viewer mail, as I said. We've then got an exciting new vise. So I've bought this for the shaper, knowing full well the moment I pressed buy that it was far too big for the shaper, but my curiosity got the better of me. So we'll have a look at that in a moment, and we'll decide whether there is any chance at all of putting this on the shaper or not, or whether we're going to use it for alternative purposes. Bit of a look at upcoming projects. So I've got a customer project that's kind of, or a viewer project, not a customer project, viewer project that's come into the shop. One of my viewers has asked if I could give him a bit of a handout, so yeah, happy to do that. So we're going to show you a bit of that, and then finally a bit about the mill. So we'll do the latest bit of thinking on the mill. Obviously with Rough Cut 22 I've not moved the mill or the shaper on any further because I've been too busy trying to utilise the mill as best I could without a quill, which was quite challenging, but we got there in the end. So we'll do a bit of feedback from viewers and a bit of thinking on what we're going to do next on the mill to resolve the quill, rack and pinion issue that I've got. So without any more babbling, I'm going to clear my temporary bench, which I'm still working on at the moment, and we will get the viewer mail up, and then we'll get our exciting new vise up for a bit of an examination. Okay, so we'll go on to the viewer mail. So I've got some stickers here that have been in the workshop for a good few weeks, and these are from Chris at Just One Guy Metalworks. So if you're watching me, you've probably already watched Chris. If not, go and check him out. Really good channel, relatively new channel, and the work he does and the production quality of his videos is absolutely fantastic. You know, if you like the work I do, you'll like the work Chris does, because it's very similar. So go and check Chris out. He deserves far more support than he's currently got on his channel. And thank you, Chris. I'll make sure we get one or both of those up on the door at some point. And moving on to the next bit of viewer mail. So this has come in from Ollie at Ollie's Workshop, and again, Ollie's a relatively new channel, just kind of getting a bit more viewership now, and again, really clever guy, does lots of good work and lots of varied work. You know, there's machining in there, but there's also some bits of CNC stuff. There's some good projects that he's done, you know, electrifying a lawnmower, things like that. Some really interesting stuff that Ollie gets up to in his workshop. So please go and check Ollie out. Again, very, very good channel and deserves far more support than he's currently got. So thank you, Ollie. We'll get you up on the board very soon. And Ollie was really kind and generous, and your packing, Ollie, is out of this world. I've seen worse packing coming from you know, suppliers that do this for a living, so you've made a really cracking job of this. So Ollie has sent me, based on the work that I'm doing with my shaper, he got in touch with me and said, look, I've got a couple of old turning tools, shaping tools, so there's a left hand and a right hand, and would I like them for the shaper? Because Ollie said he's not going to do anything with them. So I said, well, yes please, they would be very handy. So these are the kind of tools that you load a bit of high-speed steel into, and they're cranked, which is ideal for the shaper for getting into corners and things like that. So one is a, oh dear, Williams Williams turning tool holder, and oh yeah, there we go, J.H. Williams and Co, and drop forged in the USA. And the other one is also a USA made tool, which is an Armstrong, Chicago, USA. So both good quality items. So Ollie, can't thank you enough, mate. You will see these in action when I get my shaper put together, and I'm sure they'll come in very useful. And again, packaging fantastic, Ollie. So thank you very much. And just very quickly, while we're talking stickers, my usual apology, which is getting quite embarrassing that I'm having to do this now. I still haven't sent stickers out to all the people, and I think it must be getting on for nearly a year now for some of you, and I really do apologise. Ian Matthews, if you're watching, I'm probably in danger of beating your 1 year record at the rate I'm going at the minute, which, well, sounds funny, really isn't. So if you sent me a sticker and I've not sent you one back out, and I'm just looking at the board now, and I know Dream Steam, definitely Chris at Dream Steam, Machine NZ, potentially, I can't remember, Kevin, whether I have or I haven't. Mr. Factotum, again, can't remember. George at George over in Canada in the workshop. Rusty Knox, again, can't remember. So I think Rusty Knox, I have sent you one, Michelle, I think. House of Broken Dobbs, Dan. Jim at Jim's Workshop. Hilltop Machine Works, there's a few there. If you've all sent me stickers, if you've not had one back, please just drop me an email with your address, and I will make the time and do a whole job lot of these in the near future, hopefully before Christmas, and get some stickers mailed out to you. And again, I really apologise for my tardiness with that. There's two separate, very, very generous subscriber donations here to the channel, which just is massively humbling, and there's some really generous people out there. So this lot at the front here is from Terry Bloomfield, one of my long-time subscribers, and I often swap mails with Terry. Doesn't live too far from me, and Terry and I have been keeping our eye on the local kind of auction site that go in when companies go bust, and Terry's obviously got a lot more time in the week than I've got, and he's made some good scores. And this is the product of one of those scores, and he's got loads of M mills, slot drills, that kind of thing through some of the auctions. He's got some good bids and got some good scores. And he said, "Do you want me to send you a few?" I said, "Yeah, you're more than welcome to, Terry." So, and I've only literally just unwrapped these, Terry. I've been keeping them for this, so been through and unwrapped them. There is some absolute belters in here, and these are all the Clarkson threaded shank, which I've never really had any of those. I've got to be honest, I've always gone plain shank, because that's the kind of hand mills that I've had access to. So Terry sent me all these through. There's a mixture of rippers, long series, standard series, just high speed steel, M mills, and all very good, all in very, very good condition. Couple of carbide M mills. Yeah, just fantastic, Terry. Absolutely brilliant. And Terry also sent me the piece of 10mm plate that I made the bracket for the shaper out of, and a nice rod of brass that he chucked in as well. So Terry, thank you very much. That's much appreciated, and they will get put to good use. Aligned with all of this is another very kind subscriber donation. It's going to remain anonymous, but sent me in, knowing that I'm doing the ISO 30 spindle for my milling machine, has sent me in a Clarkson ISO 30 holder. Now, I've used lots of these in industry over the years, never owned one myself, never thought to own one because I didn't have any M mills that have got the Clarkson thread on the back. So I've now got a Clarkson holder with an ISO 30 taper on the back, which will go in my new spindle, and sets of collets to go with that as well. So fantastic addition to the shop, and once I get my spindle fully up and running, these are going to be seen regularly on future projects. I'm going to get good use out of both of those. So yeah, Terry, thank you very much again, and the other kind donation, you know who you are. Thank you very much indeed for that. Alright, so to anybody who understands the size of an Atlas 7B shaper and understands what a vise looks like and is looking at this box, you'll probably now understand what I mean by, I think it might be just a tad on the big side. So what I will say, I'm not going to do an unboxing, but I just want to show you this box. So the guy that I ordered this from on eBay, he said, look, it might take me a bit of a while to get this to you. I'm in the middle of moving workshops, but don't worry, stick with me. And I said, look, I'm not in any rush, so I'm fine with that. I said, just do me one favour. Can you please make sure you do a thorough job of boxing it up? It's quite an old vise that's in here, and it's quite thin sections in places, and I didn't want Captain Postman doing his usual trick of playing football with it. So I said to him, can you do a good job of boxing it up? And well, you know, you really cannot grumble at this. It's bolted down inside the box, and yeah, he's used three-quarter inch 19mm, well, a mixture of chipboard and plywood to make this box up, an OSB board, and yeah, I couldn't be more pleased with the way that came packaged. Anyway, enough of that. I'm going to get it out of the box. I'll get it on the bench and we can dig into it. It's not been out of the box yet at all, so I'm going to get it out of the box and on the bench. So, what folly? Well, having looked at it out of the box, I think I probably should have done slightly more research. Anyhow, it's here and we bought it. So what is it? Well, it's a Jerrims, I'll show you this in a minute, Jerrims Fixie Vise number 5. I think this is really quite old. It's got a just over 6-inch 160mm capacity at its broadest. Total width nearly, I don't know, 6.5 inches width, 165mm that way. Overall length of the whole vise 18 inches or 480mm from the lug to the lug, and overall width is 9 inches 230mm. Overall height, which is one of the things that drew me to it, is 95mm or 3.5 inches. Now that's what I saw. Well, I saw, amongst other things, it was that slenderness of this that attracted me to it, just because of the amount of room I've got on the shaper. So that was one thing that drew me to this, and the second thing that drew me to it is it's got these adjustable jaws where you back this off and you can wind these around and reset them to hold round stop. You slide your jaw up, slide your clamp up, and clamp up some round stop. And I thought, for a shaper, being a complete shaper newbie as I am, I thought that would be a really useful thing to have. Now it's here and I'm looking at it, it might well be useful, but I think it might be a tad on the big side. Now I've got it out of the box and cleaned it down a bit. It was covered in, the guy had sprayed it with some anti-rust stuff. I'm seeing one or two bits on it. It's going to need a strip down, a clean up. So these jaws are just freely rotating. There's this clamp here that, well, it's not a clamp, this is well, I suppose it is a clamp. This is to stop the jaws lifting, but it's surely not to stop them rotating. I can't imagine how that's going to work. So there are 2 holes in the back. Looks like there's a dowel of some description. I'm presuming these dowels knock into 2 dowel holes at 0 degrees or 45 degrees to position these jaws. I would certainly hope so. So yeah, that's that. And the other thing I found with it that I'm not best pleased about, because the guy never mentioned it, as I was trying to sort of play around with this, it's fairly obvious that the tip of the thread, the sort of cone on the end of the thread there, doesn't line up with the conical shape in the end of the jaw. And when I looked at that, it's fairly obvious that that's been cracked there and there, and the crack runs around here. It's been repaired. Somebody's re-drilled a very poor conical shape into the back of the jaw, and it's in the wrong position by the looks of it, albeit it looks fairly centered. So yeah, you can see the crack. I don't know how it's been repaired, really don't know. So yeah, not best pleased about that. The guy never mentioned that at all in the sales pitch on eBay. Not the end of the world. I'm sure we can do something with that, and we need to strip this whole thing down anyway to kind of have a look at it. So, folly or not, I don't really know, if I'm honest, at this point. I'll just lift it up. So there you go, Jerem's Fixie Vise number 5. And then on the underside you've got the mechanism for these moving jaws. Now in all my years of working on, this is a milling vise from the kind of research that I've done. In all my years of working on old manual milling machines, I'd never seen anything like this. I'd never come across anything like it, and I think that little bit of novelty factor drew me. I mean, I've obviously seen this affair before, but I've never seen this kind of swivelling jaw affair mixed with this, mixed with a slim height. There were just lots of things about this that appealed to me. So anyway, yeah, so it's got, on all 3 jaws, it looks like it's got hard-faced jaws with serrations on, which again, for the shaper, you know, for most works probably okay, albeit probably would need a set of soft jaws as well. So yeah, that's what I bought. Let me know in the comments. I might have just bought a very expensive paperweight. I'm sure we'll be able to do something with it for sure. Whether it will end up on the shaper or not, I don't know. But do you know what would be really good is to kind of scale this and make a vise that has the same kind of attributes as this one on a smaller scale, because I really do like this swiveling jaw mechanism and the quick release bit and the very slim sort of cross section that this has got. There's lots of things about this that appeal to me. Anyway, so that's it, guys. I'm not going to waste any more time with it than that at the minute, just to show you what I've what I've done. The next thing I'm going to do is just quickly, for a bit of a giggle, is take the stuff off that I've got off the shaper table, and we will precariously balance this on there and just see how stupid it looks. Okay, now you're not to laugh. I think I've overstepped it, this, if I'm being totally honest, which is a real shame. I came out and I thought, I had a quick squint at the table and I thought, I reckon I could just about make that fit. And these are kind of angled slots here, and at the very inner point on both sides I can just get into the T-slot on the table. It's height wise it's very good, but obviously there's a couple of inches of unsupported, or maybe an inch and a half unsupported at this end. I could move it back to the next set of T-slots, potentially to the very end set of T-slots. Do you know what, that could potentially work? Yeah, I don't know. It's not, it's right on the limit. it is absolutely right on the limit of being just too big. I mean, weight wise I think it's fine because it is not that heavy, even though it looks big. It's not that heavy a lump, but look at the capacity that would give on the shaper, and that's what I'd seen when I looked at this, and I just liked it. There was something about this that just drew me in, and and here it is. So worst case scenario, with a bit of fettling, this will absolutely do as a second vise for the milling machine, and it will be fine on the mill. The mill's more than big enough to cope with a vise of this size, but I'm still going to persevere with this and just see whether I can make it work on the shaper or not, because that's a huge capacity versus the size of the machine. So anyway, yeah, I could bang on and guess and suppose about this for quite some time. I've got, if you know, whatever I do with this, I've got work to do with it, and give it a quick strip down and a tidy up and make sure it's as good as it can be, and then we'll decide past that what we do with this. So I hope you like that. I mean, I just like it to look at, just as a piece of art. It's just a fantastic bit of kit. I just really like the design of it, and it's a nice thing to see in the workshop, and it would be even nicer if I could make it fit onto this machine and get some use out of it on the shaper, which is what I intended. The overall length is not an issue because you're in clearance both sides, so the fact it's that long doesn't really give a problem. Most of the clamping space there actually is right over the table surface, and you know, it's got this V idea, which again on the shaper would be very useful for gripping round stock, for putting keyways in and things like that. Yeah, I don't know. Let me know. Tell me what you think in the comments. Tell me whether you think I've been stupid. I already know the answer, but just tell me what you think. Okay, with that we're going to move back to the bench and look at something that's probably slightly more possible. Okay, so this is the job for one of my viewers. This is Martin, and I've checked with Martin. He's happy for me to show all these details. So Martin is a newcomer to the hobby. He's recently set himself up a workshop and he's just getting into making things, but he's also learning engineering in its full, well, not in its full, but in a lot more detail than just machining. So he's been teaching himself CAD, he's also been teaching himself design, and he's taken a known design of a steam engine, and he has scaled it up to be, I think it's twice scale, and this is his CAD work. So, and he's been struggling with getting the cylinder, so this is the cylinder block, so twin cylinder steam engine, so this is the cylinder block. So Martin's asked me would I make him the cylinder block, because he's had some difficulty getting positional accuracy and things like that on his mill. As I say, he's only just starting out in the hobby, so he's in a bit of a learning mode. He's making the rest of the engine himself. He's shared the plans, I think it's Model Engineering Forum. What I'll do is, when I upload this video, I'll double check and I'll put some details in the description of Martin and the engine's name itself and where he shared it, in case anybody else is interested. And he's scaled all this thing up and he's making a double scale version of it, and he's asked me would I be kind enough to make the cylinder block for him. So he sent me a decent slug of material and a few copies of the drawing, because I'm liable to damage one or two as we go through. So that's one of the upcoming jobs on the new mill once I've got the spindle issues that I've got at the moment fully resolved. So that's one upcoming, one that I'm quite looking forward to, making something to print for somebody else, something that I've spent most of my career doing. So it's going to be nice to get into doing something like that. And so look out for that one coming up. And in terms of other jobs coming up over the next few weeks, more shaper. I want to get the shaper finished off. more mill refurb. I want to get that finished off and get the spindle back up and running properly with the quill working. So yeah, there's a bit more work to do on that, on both of those things, so they'll be upcoming in the next few weeks, and whatever else comes along. And there's various things that I want to do and get started project wise. So I've not planned anything in yet other than what you're seeing on the bench in front of you and the mill and shaper refurb, but there will bound to be other things that crop up as we go through the next few weeks. So, quick update on the milling machine saga. So those of you that are following along will have watched me make a right pig's ear of trying to recut this pinion shaft for the quill. Now, in that video and in the subsequent planning video, I spoke about remaking this whole shaft, which was kind of my plan at that point. I've ordered some material, so we've got some EM32T material here, which is more than long enough to make one of these and have a chucking piece or some spare. And some of the comments I got on that video was just some of the stuff that in the heat of the moment, after it had just happened when I filmed that video, I'd not really given this any proper thought. And a couple of comments, one was from Dave Ticehurst and another one was also from somebody else, and apologies, I forget so many comments on that video, who said, why don't you turn the teeth off and sleeve it, so put a sleeve on, pin it through, and then recut the gears into the sleeve. So shrink fit a sleeve on, recut the gear teeth into the new sleeve, and then just pin it. It's not under a massive amount of circumferential load. So, and I thought, yes, that's a really good idea. So if you look at the length of these two bits of material, the original and the new, I've got more than enough, if I chop this end off, to make a sleeve that will cover this area here. And if that doesn't work, there's still enough material left in this bar to make an entire new shaft. So that's plan A and plan B in a nutshell. So plan A is we're going to make a sleeve, so we're going to turn this down, we're going to make a shrink fit sleeve to go on there, we'll heat it up, drop it on, cross pin it through here and recut the teeth into the sleeve. And what I'm probably going to do as well is, before I do that, I'm going to make another sleeve out of Delrin, and we'll probably cross pin that on as well. It doesn't need to be a shrink fit, obviously. I'm not going to heat Delrin up, but you get the idea. We'll make it a close fit, and I can play around with the depth in Delrin where it doesn't matter. Make sure I've got my setup correct before we commit to making a proper sleeve out of the real stuff. So that's what's going to be happening on the mill head saga. So there we go, guys, that gets us to the end of workshop Blether number 15. Well, what a series of very exciting and very yeah, I don't know what you want to call it, full of folly, I guess, with the mill spindle catastrophe, and also the vise that I've just purchased that I need to try and figure out how on earth I'm going to use that. I will find a use for that, and I still like looking at it. It's just, I don't know what it is about that vise. From the moment I saw it, it just drew me in, and yeah, it's here now, so I need to find some use for it. But I really like the design and the usefulness of it and the dimensions of it, so we may end up, as a project in the future, may end up copying, scaling, making something smaller, maybe, I don't know. It's a possible, it's one of the possible things that, if I've run out of all of the things to do, which is highly unlikely, that could be something that comes onto the radar. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you again to the kind donations to the channel. Yeah, it just humbles me, and yeah, very generous people, and I can't even bother my backside to get stickers out after a year of when I should have been doing it. So again, I apologise for that. I need to make the time to do that. I'm going to have to sacrifice some time in here to have time in the house with an envelope, set of envelopes and a pen, and do all the work and get myself down to the post office. So thank you to you all, Thank you to the subscribers and new subscribers that have come along, and we'll catch you all very soon on another video when we'll be making something else.